All I can say is that the fake news just doesn't get it, do they?
They don't. But you know what? Finally, some of them do. Who remembers when the New York Post broke the biggest story, probably of the last 50 years, the incriminating laptop of Hunter Biden, all that stuff? Quite frankly, it should have sank Joe Biden's candidacy. Instead, big tech did everything they could to limit the impact of this story, to keep it out of your hands. Well, the fake news has finally embraced it. Politico comes out. One of their reporters has written a big book, and he couldn't have written the book without the laptop, and it's legit. It's all in the book. Just as a quick refresher, all the business arrangements between Hunter Biden and Joe, and also, well, Hunter Biden and his very interesting life and very unfortunate life. I mean, gosh, this guy is into some really bad stuff. I hope he gets well. But we were lied to. We were definitely lied to by so many, by intelligence officials who signed that letter for Joe Biden, by the fake news. Because this email undermines so much of their fake news narrative. A Burisma official writes Hunter, thanking him for the meeting with his father. Dear Hunter, thank you for inviting me to D.C. and giving me an opportunity to meet your father and spend some time together. English is not the guy's first language. Joe Biden went on the record many times and said never did he talk business with his son Hunter, about Hunter's business. Never came up.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum.
Oh, nasty, nasty, nasty. This is not normal, by the way. Normal people don't do this. Normal people who are supposed to restore our norms and be so empathetic. Look, he got defensive because Peter Doocy there was onto something. We all were, okay? But he denied it, and the fake news bought it. Now that Joe is safely in the White House, their work is done. And now, somewhat reluctantly, but they have no choice, they're turning on him. They're turning on him. Oh, something else we have to talk about. You heard about white supremacy? So much white supremacy coming our way. White supremacy is an existential threat to America. Democrats all over the place have been saying this basically since Donald Trump showed up.
You asked me today, what are our homeland security threats? Of course, terrorism, except of a different nature. Domestic-based violent extremism, right-wing violent extremism.
We have a domestic terrorism threat that is as scary as the international terrorism threat, with domestic terrorists and white supremacists.
And there's rise of white supremacy. So the very people we went to squash, all extremists and terrorists, and yet the homeland is now experiencing the same thing that we experience abroad.
Our number one threat right now are domestic terrorists, primarily right-wing extremists motivated by race. They are white.
So it's just a left-wing talking point. None of that's true. None of that is true. Now, we went looking for this white supremacy stuff that they're talking about, right? The violence and the danger that's posed. We actually did find some evidence from 1923. This is the last substantial turnout we could see or we could find of white supremacy. Look, it's a boogeyman. It's a false boogeyman. And some of those officials that you just heard talking about white supremacy, it was a talking point because deeper in some of those conversations, they acknowledged what the real threat is. Got to hand it to the Republican National Committee. They put together one heck of a highlight reel of Democrats pointing their finger at the real threat to America.
This Afghan government was going to collapse rapidly because of the way in which we got out.
I think of John Kennedy and the Bay of Pigs. It unfolded quickly, and The president thought that everything would be fine, and that was not the case.
It has created a global crisis, quite frankly.
You cannot defend the execution here. This has been a disaster.
Well, they clearly were caught off guard by the events over the last 72 hours.
How his decision was made to withdraw, but then its execution, which has been so far catastrophic.
Our national security is threatened.
This is a Dunkirk moment, or perhaps a Saigon moment.
This tragedy was completely preventable.
Nobody wants the Saigon image, and obviously we ended up with another Saigon image.
It's kind of like the Dunkirk evacuation.
We do have to regard the recent turn of events as creating a real risk of another terrorist organization, whether it's ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, trying to reestablish a foothold in Afghanistan.
It's a really rough time. It didn't need to be this way.
The fact that there was little to no real planning done.
I'm left with some grave question in my mind about his ability, speaking about the president, to lead our nation as commander-in-chief, to have read this so wrong, or even worse, to have understood what was likely to happen and not care.
Admit the mistakes that were made.
So they were behind the curve from the beginning of the announcement.
The situation is absolutely heartbreaking. It is tragic. It's disastrous.
And the execution in particular does not speak to competency.
They will provide a safe haven for Al-Qaeda.
It's a failure, and he needs to own that failure. He's the commander-in-chief.
It has emboldened violent Islamic radicals. So they might be doing a little bit of high-fiving.
Pretty powerful, right? They're talking about something real. When they bring up white supremacy, that's not real. That is a Democrat wishful thinking talking point. This stuff is real, and if you look closely enough, they're acknowledging it. Some of the experts, some of the leaders, but it's lost in all of the noise. So we had a chance to vet Joe Biden many times before. We actually did it successfully in 1987 and 2008. The voters looked at him and said, no way. This time, though, he squeaked in somehow. So they didn't vet him when it really counted. So let's take a closer look at him now. What do you say, huh? We found this article actually from 1970. He's talking about running for Senate in 72. This is his hometown newspaper, and boy, Joe was a loose cannon then, just like he's a loose cannon now when it comes to talking. Listen to this. The one thing I want to be known for in politics, in my law practice, in my personal relationships, is that I am totally honest, a man of my word. It gets even more ridiculous. I have some friends on the far left, and they can justify to me the murder of white deaf mute for a nickel by 5 colored guys. They say the black men had been oppressed and so on, but they can't justify some Alabama farmers tar and feathering an old colored woman. This is Joe Biden's words, okay? Not mine, the former president of the United States. I'm sorry, the present president of the United States. I suspect the ACLU would leap to defend the 5 black guys, but no one would go down to help the rednecks. Let's see. Rednecks are usually people with very real concerns, people who lack the education and skills to express themselves quietly and articulately. I am not a keep 'em barefoot and pregnant man, he says, but I am all for keeping them pregnant until I have a little girl. All right. The first time the phone rang and someone said, "You N-word lover, you want them living next to you?" I was shocked. I said, "If you're the alternative, I guess the answer is yes." Okay. He says he entered the county council race only after local Democratic chieftains assured him he would not even win the nomination. Interesting. He says, I guess this is from the Reporter, he says, there may be lots of men in town who are as bright as he is, and lots of men who are as good-looking as he is, and lots of men who know as much about political science as he does. This is all in Wilmington, by the way. But there are very few who can beat him on all 3. Okay. Now, maybe you're thinking, oh, that's the fake news putting words in his mouth. I mean, they misquote people all the time, which they do, but I don't think they did it here. Here's Joe Biden in 1974. He's about 32 years old, and he's been in the Senate now for 2 years.
Unless you happen to be some sort of anomaly, like myself, being a 29-year-old candidate and can attract some attention beyond your own state, it's very difficult to raise that money from a large group of people. I am an anachronism. I'm a 29-year-old oddball. The only reason I was able to raise the money is I was able to have a national constituency to run for office. Because I was 29, I'm like the token black or the token woman. I was the token young person.
I don't care what year it is. You don't talk like that. And hey, how about a guy who's so full of himself? It validates all the quotes. And here's one more, by the way, from that profile in the Delaware newspaper. It says he neither drinks nor smokes. And Joe says, I don't use anything that could be a crutch, he says. And then after reflecting a minute, he adds, I use football as a crutch and motorcycle jumping and skiing. I ski like a madman. Now, we try to find pictures of him motorcycle jumping and all that other stuff. I think the only thing that's true here is the madman part. Joe liked to boast about his commute. Remember this on the Amtrak? Just so happens he told a story about this just yesterday in front of Boris Johnson from the UK, of all people. He told a story that we know is not true.
I'll tell you a quick story that has nothing to do with anything. When I was vice president, the Secret Service didn't like me traveling on Amtrak because there were too many options for people to cause trouble along the way. But I insisted I do it, and one day they put in the newspaper, Biden travels 1 million, I think, don't hold me the exact number, I think it was 350,000 miles on Air Force Two. And so I, walking up to getting the train on that Friday, and a guy who was the number 3 guy from New Jersey on seniority as a conductor walked up and grabbed me, and he goes like this, Joey, baby, grabbed my cheek. I thought the Secret Service was going to shoot him. And I said, no,
hold on a second.
Said, Joey,
hold on.
Deal.
The conductor grabs him, and the Secret Service almost shoots him, huh? If Joe is riding Amtrak, as much as he says he rides Amtrak, why would the Secret Service react that way? The guy's a conductor. He's in uniform. He's supposed to be there. He's supposed to be Joe's friend. Yet they want to pull a gun on the guy? That's a problem right there. I'm sorry to be nitpicky, but he's not telling the truth.
1,300,000 miles on Amtrak, on Air Force Two. You know how many miles you traveled on Amtrak? I said, no. He said, with the retirement dinner, we worked it out. He said, 36 years in the Senate, X number of years at that point as vice president, average 131 days a year, 257 miles a day. Joey, you traveled over 2 million miles. Big deal. I thought they should name the railroad after me or something. But at any rate.
They made the station up.
Yeah, they did.
It's big news.
Anyway.
All right. Joe is right at the outset. The story has nothing to do with anything. But it's not true. The conductor he's talking about, Joe did make friends with the conductor 20 years earlier. We found his obituary. He died in 1993. There's the guy. Joe did make a stop by. He retired in 93. Oh, I'm sorry. He retired in 93. He died in 2014. So, look, he makes stuff up. A lot of politicians do. I think we all deserve to know that during the campaign. Now we're finding out about it, a lot of people, and it's too late.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.